I was told to train my backup who couldn't use Excel. It turns out, I wasn't the one who needed backup. My boss Harold called me into his office, introduced me to a 22-year-old named Blake, who couldn't even spell accounting, and told me to train him because everyone needs backup. I stood there for 30 seconds, realized what was actually happening, then took off my company badge and placed it on Harold's desk. "Where are you going?" Harold asked, genuinely confused. "To watch you explain to the IRS why Blake is suddenly handling your cooked books." I'd been Harold's accounting manager for 8 years at his manufacturing company. I'd cleaned up his messes, covered his tax creativity, and kept his business running while he took credit and bonuses. 3 months ago, Harold started acting strange. Secret meetings, locked office doors, sudden conferences with no documentation. Then Blake appeared, introduced as an intern, despite it being October, not summer. "Blake's a quick learner," Harold said that morning. "Smart kid, going places." Blake couldn't use Excel, thought accounts receivable was a person's name, asked if we could just round everything to the nearest thousand to save time. But Harold insisted I teach him everything: my passwords, my processes, my client relationships. Even wanted me to introduce Blake as my successor to our biggest accounts. "I'm not retiring," I'd said carefully. "Never know when things might change," Harold replied. That's when I noticed Blake's emergency contact form on Harold's desk. Same last name as Harold's new executive assistant, Melissa, the 25-year-old he'd hired 6 months ago. The pieces clicked. Harold was having an affair with Melissa. Blake was her brother. They were setting him up with my job while I trained my own replacement. "I need a minute," I told Harold that morning. Then went to my office and started a very specific process. See, Harold had been embezzling for years. Small amounts, clever methods, always just under the radar. I documented everything but never reported it, using it as job security. But if Blake was taking over, that security was gone anyway. I called our 3 biggest clients from my personal phone, told them I was leaving immediately, and suggested they might want an independent audit before year end. Gave them the name of a forensic accountant who'd love the work. Then I sent an email to the IRS tip line, anonymous, detailed, with just enough breadcrumbs to start an investigation, but not enough to trace back to me directly. Finally, I exported my entire contact list, client files, and the real books to my personal cloud. Not the cooked ones Harold knew about, but the actual figures I'd been maintaining to protect myself. "You can't just leave," Harold shouted when I walked back to his office. "You have contracts. At-will employment, remember? You made me sign that last year. I'll sue you for sabotage." "With what evidence?" "Blake's been handling everything for the past hour according to the login records." Blake had been using my computer while I was gone. Harold's idea to get him familiar with the systems. Every action he'd taken was logged under his own new credentials that Harold had rushed through IT that morning. "You planned this," Harold accused. "I planned for job security. You planned to replace me with your girlfriend's brother." Yes, we both had plans. 2 weeks later, the first client called for an audit. They found discrepancies immediately. Then the second client. Then the third. Then the IRS showed up. Blake had been managing the books for 14 days. Every mistake, every red flag, every suspicious transaction happened under his watch, with his digital fingerprints all over them. Harold tried to blame me, but I'd been gone, starting my own consulting firm with his former clients who followed me after the audits revealed Harold's corruption. Blake cracked immediately under questioning, admitted he didn't understand any of it, that Harold told him to just follow the patterns in my old files, admitted his sister got him the job, admitted Harold had promised him my salary plus bonuses. Harold got 5 years for embezzlement and tax fraud. Melissa got 2 years as an accomplice. Blake got probation and a lifetime ban from financial positions. But here's where it gets really satisfying. My consulting firm started with 3 clients, Harold's biggest accounts who followed me after the audit. Within 6 months, I had 25. Turns out, word spreads fast when you're the accountant who exposed massive fraud. Every business owner wanted someone they could trust with their books. My firm now owns Harold's company. I kept everything exactly the same in his old office, except for one thing. I put his mugshot where his Businessman of the Year award used to hang.